question, but D'Antoni is considered a strong candidate to be Coach of the Year. What kind of thought do you have about his potential of winning an honor like that?
Well, Mike deserves it. I mean, there's probably a couple other guys who you could make a really strong case for. I mean, I think Eric Spoelstra's done an amazing job. Pop, you could just give it to Pop every year if you wanted. But I think Mike has been brilliant. When you look at where the team is now compared to where they were at the end of last season, obviously they made some really key personnel moves, getting Gordon and Anderson, and I think that the fit with the roster and with Mike and his philosophy has been perfect. And what he's so good at is really giving his players confidence and belief in what they're doing. And they're obviously believing they're having an amazing year. And my guess is that Mike will get the trophy. He's earned it.
Thank you.
Any Kevin update at all that you?
No. Did you guys see him out there working out?
Struggling.
Is he struggling? I didn't see him work out. So
We'll have an official update on him tomorrow.
Tomorrow an update. There you have it.
Because of the guys that aren't playing today and on Friday, how much, if you were to see them down the road, can you even take from these two games?
You mean with Kevin and Ryan
Anderson?
Yeah. Well, you always take a little something from every game, based on matchups and who's guarding whom and what kind of sets the other team's running, what they're looking to accomplish, and you have that tape. If you end up meeting in the playoffs, you look back at all the tapes and see what you can glean. So it's obviously not exact in terms of what you're going to be looking at down the road, but it's helpful, and you just go from there.
You and the Rockets are 1 and 2 in a lot of different offensive categories. How closely do you feel that they are to you guys?
Well, we don't really play that much alike, to be honest with you. We both shoot a lot of threes. That's the similarity. But they are almost exclusively pick and roll dominant with Harden, and it causes all kinds of problems. And he's surrounded by shooters, and their whole offense is to get him going downhill and have a big diving to the rim, and then you got three-point shooting spaced all around. We kind of diversify our offense a little bit more. Got a lot, probably more off-ball action and screening, and we have more people involved in the playmaking based on our personnel. Maybe not as many three-point shooters as they have. So it's different, but I think the philosophy is very similar in terms of trying to play with pace, play with energy. Any open shot's a good shot. Fire away. Play with joy and confidence. And it's an effective formula, but there are different ways to get to that formula.
Steve, I think this is the 5th or 6th year you guys have had the back end of a back-to-back in San Antonio. Is there any way for the schedule makers to guard against something that nuanced?
Well, they could just not do it.
I mean, to have an awareness of something like that, do you expect?
What I expect is for the next 6 visits in Oakland will be back-to-backs for San Antonio, because the league is always trying to even things up.
What surprised you the most, or has anything about the way James has kind of so seriously adapted what Mike wants him to do?
To be honest, it's not surprising at all. I think Mike showed with Steve Nash that his style is perfect for a guy, a point guard who has great vision and who can score. Steve Nash obviously won 2 MVPs under Mike, and now you got a guy who is very similar to Nash, only he's 6'5" and 220 instead of 6'1" and $175. So it's been fun to watch and not fun to guard, but as I said, it doesn't really surprise me. Just having been with Mike in Phoenix and knowing what he can do with a point guard.
That's a nicer thing I expected about an Arizona State guy.
What's that?
That was a nicer thing I expected about an Arizona State guy.
Yeah, that part is the surprising part. Just, seeing a Sun Devil in the league is kind of rare. I get so many hate emails coming my way right now, tweets, all that stuff.
Is what they do here basically the same as what Mike did in Phoenix, or is it different?
Very similar, very similar. In Phoenix you had Stoudemire diving to the rim. off that screen roll. You had Marion, who was a 3-man, and Mike turned him into a 4. So everybody kind of downsized, and you had great speed at different positions, and so it's very similar. But I think Mike has even said it himself. He's all in now. Like back then, we were unsure, if we were going to be able to win playing small. We wanted a high level, but we didn't win the whole thing. And we ended up breaking stride and trading for Shaq, and we weren't convinced we could do it. I think Mike, maybe it's because of the way the league has trended over the last decade. I think Mike is all in, and so now they shoot 40 threes a night. I think the Suns probably shot closer to 30. So it's same stuff, but like kind of on steroids.
Do you think 40 threes a night is kind of like as high as it's going to get, or do you feel that one day could get even more threes?
I'll bet you next year Houston takes more threes than they're taking this year. I don't know what that number is. Maybe it's 45, but I don't think they're about to change anything. They're probably going to look for more 3-point shooters in the draft and free agency, and they're all in, as I said, and the trend is going in that direction. So we'll see.
Is the center dying?
It's not dying. It's I think the power forward is kind of dying. The center, there's still a place for a great center. There just aren't that many of them. But the power forward spot, the traditional, old school, strongman, enforcer type, that guy doesn't exist anymore. Now you got everybody with a small forward who can shoot the ball, spread the floor, make plays.
I promise this isn't a setup, but do you think that something that should factor in the MVP race is how often has it played?
How what?
Like Harden hasn't missed a game yet.
Yeah.
Do you think that should be a factor in what somebody's deciding in terms of vote for the MVP?
Well, I would say if a guy's played, 50 games and missed 30 games,
right,
that should be a factor. If we're talking about a handful of games, I used to.
It's not a setup.
Yeah. No, I used to vote on this stuff when I was with TNT. And I think everybody has their own sort of formula or factor, whatever they're looking for. Is it the best player? Is it the guy who defends at both ends? Is it the guy who has helped his team win more games than people expected? There's no formula. Nobody actually has a criteria. The league doesn't have a criteria for this stuff. So it's whatever the voters think.
What's been the formula this win streak?
Defense. Our defense over the last 7 games. The numbers are great. I think our rating, we have like a 93 points per 100 possession rating, which is